I know him since early 90s. We started in the same agency, you know, in Bangalore. And kind of our journeys have been kind of parallel in the sense Swami went to Chennai. I hung out in Bangalore. Then Swami went to Bombay. Then I landed up in Bombay and then we continued working. I think, I don't know how many years, 25 years, maybe I know Swami for. But I think one of the most interesting things about our relationship, Swami and I, was we always felt that there was something not fully there in advertising. And so we used to always talk about this feeling that, there is some gap in this business. There is the advertising as an industry needs to do more. It's not about TV commercials. It's not about, print ads and things like that, even though we did a lot of that as well. So there was a disgruntlement that we carried all the time. And most of our conversations used to be around this fact that are we as an industry delivering enough to the boardroom, to the CEO, to the CFO? Are we relevant and things like that? So when we started talking maybe about a month ago, I requested Swami to come down and as always, anybody who's worked in Bangalore owes a lot to the city. So, Swami is flown down at his own cost. He's staying back here and he'll go to Chennai. So Swami's built this little, point of view about, and the most of the conversation in the advertising club group is about the industry itself. Where are we? Generative AI, clients asking for more for less and things like that. So those questions we are trying to answer in some way. So I won't talk much about what his session is going to be. Swami will introduce and we'll have maybe a more a conversational session rather than a PowerPoint presentation where he's going to stand up on a pulpit and talk. So over to you, Swami, and thanks for coming. Yeah.
Good. Take this.
Thanks, Nishad. So when Nishad called me, I wasn't sure if anybody wants to listen and, to what I'm talking, right? So I kept asking him, what should we talk on and what's the topic that we should be talking on? What's the topic that we should talk on? So what's the topic that we should talk on? So I have something to talk about, but I just want to start off by asking if you have some questions in your mind. I want to start with that and let me see if I'm able to answer those questions, because I've gone through advertising industry in multiple waves, right? Because I was a pre-internet era advertising guy, right? So 96 is when internet actually came in. Okay. So I started advertising in advertising in 1991. Okay. So 96 is when internet came into being, and I went and set up at that time I don't need it. So in 99, when exactly before the .com bust, that was when DoubleClick was launched. Okay, DoubleClick is actually the company that Google bought, right? So I was working with a startup and we launched our own ad network, okay, in 99. So I did my startup in 99, okay? So we built a network which is a competition to DoubleClick. The company folded, okay? But that's really what was the story in pre-internet. So which means that there's nothing called a social media agency. There's nothing called a content agency. There's nothing called whatever agency you want to call. And therefore, I've gone through that stage, right? So then suddenly people said, you know what? All this is happening now. MarTech is happening. Analytics is happening, right? So then I went through the next wave of, okay, analytics looks great. MarTech looks great. Okay. So I went and set up my analytics and MarTech company. Obviously, that's called Hansas Equity, okay, which finally got bought over by R.K. Swamy, and I think last year it got listed in the Bombay Stock Exchange. Okay, so therefore we built some scale, but as we built scale, one thing I must tell you is I got burnt, okay, in the process, right? Because our CMOs don't understand analytics. Our, agencies really don't understand. So the analytics and the MarTech company. So I exited in 2021, and now I run a company called Counterminds Labs. Okay. So this is out of the experience of actually saying that, frankly, the real challenge that we felt was what I call as the ambition talent gap, right? Which is, I had an ambition and we had an ambition. Sridhar is with me. So Sridhar came from the US. So we hired him from, in fact, he decided to join us because we were not worth joining at that time. Okay. So he joined us, and so we built that company, but we realized that neither the clients understood what analytics and MarTech was, neither the people who actually worked us understood it. So which means that we are creating an entire category called MarTech. MarTech people know today, right? MarTech was not even there in 2002, right? So which means that there was Adobe, there was Salesforce. We didn't know what we were doing. We'll say we'll do some campaigns. The clients think, we are a set of plumbers, trying to send emails. Okay. So that's really how, so to the extent that one of my largest clients, I think the CMO never met me. Okay. Because he thought, kuch technology mein kuch kar rahe hai. If I get this guy, he will ask me about technology. Let me not talk to him. Okay. So that's the nature of the problem that's there. And I now look back, I think the issues remain the same. And now we have AI. So I'm actually going to the fourth wave of, will AI close agencies? Okay. What do we do? Okay. So that's really where I am. So what Counterminds Labs we do is, we're really building what is called as we are a capability company. And we are actually looking at how do you build capability even at a school level. Because when I get an engineer and I ask him the fundamental questions, he doesn't know how to answer it. So I always say that we are building a set of talent who are like ODP servers. Idli chahiye, idli denge. Dosa chahiye, dosa denge. Okay. But if I say I'm giving you atta, please do whatever he says, requirement clear nahi hai. Okay. So I will not do anything. Okay. So that's the nature of people we are dealing with. So how do you really build this capability? It's not that as if I knew MarTech, I knew analytics, I didn't know CRM, I didn't know internet advertising, but I've kind of gone through the process. And today, for example, I'm on the advisory board of large companies. I work with companies like Palantir and things like that, which is really at the high end of I would call AI. Okay, and I don't see myself outdated. Okay, let me tell you that with humility. Not that I am somebody who have gone through 4 waves. So I thought, having known my background, having a PPT, I didn't want to just open a PPT and talk. So therefore, I just wanted to understand what questions do you have in your mind. Maybe I'll pick up from there and then probably talk to you. Who wants to start first?
What are 3 things founders should not do? What are 3 things? You set up a company, you sold it to Hansas Equity. What are 3 things founders should not do? One is like, for example, selling a stake at a very less price, even if you're not able to raise money. So 2 things which you've learned, which acts as a checklist or a checkbook.
So first thing is, I really did not know what was the valuation of the company.
Exactly.
So when I actually went out and gave equity stake, okay, I didn't know how much should I give, and therefore what am I actually giving up? Okay, so that's really the real challenge that I faced, and I gave up more than what I and I'm saying I did a startup in 2006, 2007, right? Today, there are enough, I would say, templates for valuation and things like that. At that time, there was nothing called. So therefore, I think equity is actually a fairly high, I would say, asset that you should not give up. Okay, number one. Number two is you really have to hire people who want to work in a startup. Many people want to work in a startup, but actually they don't have the intensity to work in a startup. So when I hired a lot of people, Sridhar was not one because he knew what it was, right? Many people who joined me wanted to actually, it was almost like a social thing saying that I'm in a startup. But when they knew that I have to work 17 hours a day, 18 hours a day, they said, but that's not what I signed up for. So actually you have to really select the people who want to work in a startup, right? Which many a times I think, we made the mistake. I made the mistake, not we. I made the mistake. And the third is ability to have an ambition and take a large risk, right? Which is really, so if you look at all my 4 waves, so when we did the ad network, which was competing with DoubleClick, okay? So Westbridge Capital is when in 99 I raised money. And 2000, we folded up. Okay. And in 99, I raised $1 million. Okay. And then the investors came and said, you should hire a top-notch CMO. Okay. So I hired somebody from Coca-Cola. Okay. And that guy actually took the money in a year and he didn't build business and he actually folded up the company. So we paid $1 million for the CMO. Okay. And the CEO, right? So these are the 3 things. So therefore, I will not listen to the investor. I think I will do what I think is right. So these are 3 things I would say.
Thanks.
Sir, I have a question. Since you have been through multiple cycles of building in your own journey, has there been one thing that has stayed constant despite the multiple cycles that you became part of, and one learning which is a takeaway from each of these cycles when the life and death cycle got completed? What was the takeaway from it?
Okay. So, I think there is one common thing that probably, I don't know whether it is by accident or whether it is by sheer luck. I think I wanted to be in advertising or marketing. So for me, it was not a job. It was a career. There's a very big difference between job and career, right? A job is, I'll be in this job. Tomorrow I'll move to HDFC Bank. Third day I will go to, Marico. Fifth day I'll do something else. But I never thought I should. I wanted to be in marketing. So if you look at my career, I think I've done 30 years just in the same business, right? So today when I do AI, I think the context that I give to my AI platform is far more knowledgeable, and therefore the kind of prompt engineering I'm able to build is something that AI actually helps me, build better. So if you ask me, decide the profession and then stay put at it, because when I worked in WPP, there are many years when I didn't get the right promotion, I didn't get the right increment. Okay. I was also married. I also had an ambition. Okay. But I think I stayed put in that, I would say, career. Okay. And therefore, I would actually say effort and results actually are non-linear. Okay. If you are an employee, you want efforts and results in the same year. Next year, 25% increment chahiye. Okay. But if you are doing something, my view is that efforts and results are non-linear, right? So I would say that when I look at my 25, 30 years, I probably 4 times the effort 20 years back. I used to earn 1/4 the amount. Today, I put 1/4 the effort but I make 4 times the money, right? So therefore, it's important for you to look at it from that context. And many people don't look at it from that context, right? Because that's really how it was. Say, for example, so just to give you in context, WPP did not want me to quit, okay? So they gave me WPP shares, okay, dollar shares, okay? The first question I asked them was, शेयर देंगे, डॉलर होगा, मेरे को डिविडेंड मिलेगा, बट जॉब क्या है? Okay, because I think money is very addictive, right? Once you start getting money, the challenge is not about you. It is your wife and children who live that lifestyle, right? So therefore, it is important to actually understand that and therefore really have a reality check of this problem, right? So therefore, I think that's really what I learned, and that's what I would say is the most toughest. Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs, including maybe myself, we tend to get into areas guided more by our passion to begin with, not really looking at what will be the best area to enter. But down the line, sometimes you do discover that may not have been the best area. Now, my question to you is, do you stay wedded to the area that you started with? Or is there a way that you can later look at a better opportunity universe and identify some place to position yourself better?
Yeah. So, so I was listening. I'll give you a context and then I'll come back to my answer, right? So I was listening to this podcast of, Rangarajan, C.R. Rangarajan, who used to be the RBI governor, right? So, so he said in a podcast that when, there was a period when N.T. Ramarao was chief minister, right? So N.T. Ramarao called him and said that we are going to, manufacture liquor. So you are the secretary in charge of manufacturing liquor, right? So C.R. Rangarajan actually said, boss, this is not the reason I joined IAS, because, I did not want to actually, manufacture liquor and sell liquor. And that's not why I joined this IAS, right? So he was very, very down, saying that, why am I doing what I don't like, right? Then he goes on to say that after some time, he reconciled and said, whatever job is given to me, let me do it with a passion. So it's not about if you have the passion, don't do it. He said, anything that's given to you, do it with passion. And I ended up being an RBI governor, right? Maybe that 3 years was difficult for me, right? So therefore, one thing I can tell you is that I was passionate about advertising, marketing. Probably, I used to kind of go to every newspaper stand asking for A&M, which used to be a magazine at that time, right? So I was very passionate. Did we make the money? So just to give you a perspective, my first job that I got was in Citibank. Okay. So actually, I could have made a lot of money. Okay. But then I actually analyzed the job and said that the money is too much for the work that they're giving me. Okay. So I did not take it up. Okay. So then what happened was that then I kept working on my craft, if I were to call it. I'm a client servicing guy, right? Which means that if I go to Nishad, I should know what my campaign is. My brief must be right. Okay. I should know what is typeface. I should know strategy. Okay. There are so many things I didn't know, right? I didn't even know how to communicate because I was this typical South Indian, Tamil medium boy, right? Today, if you look at me, you will think I grew in a convent school kind of a thing, but it was not like that. I was made to come to Bangalore and make presentations, right? So I continued to work on my craft, right? That's really what I did. And then when we started Sequity, the thing was we felt analytics and all this will become big. But if you're an entrepreneur, I think you got to find a way to make money. Okay. So which means that there are many things that I did. For example, we didn't have a plan to open a call center. Okay. But I went and opened a call center because my belief was that's what probably India is a very ops market. Right? So therefore, I had to go back and set up a call center. We did did that. And today, for example, a large part of the revenue of Sequity comes from call center. Okay. Analytics and MarTech is one part, but call center. So therefore, I think as an entrepreneur, don't be passionate about the area. Look at the market, look at what's the need, but don't forget your vision. Okay. So I think that's the way I see it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Is this format good? Because
Yes.
otherwise, I'll just open a PPT. I'll just say whatever I want. Then you guys will go drink beer and it'll be over, right? So, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Q. So you're talking a lot about using AI in marketing. So what has been the most useful application to you so far in the space of marketing?
See, let me put it this way. There are lots of uses of AI, right? So if you look at my Contramind's website, Labs, I never used a creative person. I used AI, Replit, built it, completely did the code myself, okay? And it's up and running. It's on Cloudflare, okay? And I coded it myself. And now, that's one thing that I have. I have a AI agent which does my SEO. I have an AI agent which does my content. Okay, so I can actually build 25 pieces of content which the AI builds basis my blog. Okay, and I actually don't have an agency. Okay, and that's really what I do. Okay, so the problem is not that. I think the problem is advertising has been for a long time searching for a business model. Okay, and this is not the AI problem. It's actually a 25. So let me go to the slide that I think is relevant for you, right? So I actually, for this presentation, took this graph, which is the last 25 years of ad spend across the world. Okay. So this is from 2000 to 2025. If you look at the share of agency network revenue, it has come down from 10% to 8%. But the platforms, which is the Metas, the Googles, okay, the Amazons, actually have now hit 80-85% of all ad spends done by marketers. Okay. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, they will use AI, they will find their markets. What is your business model is what I think is the question, right? So now when I look at it from a 25-year perspective, you will realize that maybe in the year 2010, the revenue of the platforms and advertising agency networks was actually the same. Then there was a hockey stick growth that probably the agency just, we just kept doing the same thing again and again and again, right? And now when you look at it, is there no marketing money? Of course, there's a lot of marketing money, right? But the fact is that we are not able to get that money. So rather than ask a question, what is AI going to do? I'm saying, what is the business model you want to build out of AI? Right? I think that's the question I think I would ask, because anything can be done, right? The business model has to give me the revenue at scale, right? That is very, very important. And therefore, it does many things. But the truth is, how do you make the revenue? Because if you ask me, 2030, I want to have a better share of the platform revenue, right? So what will make me earn that revenue? That's the question I ask myself. So that's the thought I want to leave you with. Yeah.
So you have a lot of experience in the space. You have seen, the shift in advertising. So my question is, next 20 years down the line, because I've just started 5 years, it's been that I'm in this industry. Next 20 years, what do you think, how the changes will be there in advertising industry? What do you think?
Okay. Let me do one thing.
Yeah.
Let me go back to I'm going to show you something. Then let's debate this, right?
Right.
What?
Right.
Is it? Okay. So let's take the example of a media agency, right? So if you go to Group M or if you go to any media agency, they'll say you are from Chorus. So, we talk about influencer marketing, that'll be a separate agency. There's some programmatic that they do, measurement happens, technology happens, MarTech skills happen. So any group, any company which is Omnicom or OMD or whatever, they keep talking about this. This is the real challenge. Now let's look back. So when you get a media brief, the brief will be, I have 10 million, where will you put it? Immediately, I am now working with a lot of media agencies. They'll say 40% TV beta karo, ye better hai, wo better hai, kuch bhi karke, the money is actually put there, right? Now, look at this for a moment. So, during the same period, okay, there was a whole set of new brands that came up, which is Cars 24, okay, say Car Deco, and the entire advertising pool of 10 to 15,000 crore went to them, okay, because they asked a different question, okay, they didn't say where to put the money, okay. So the question that they asked was, can we help people discover and influence car buying? Okay. So today, if I go to a automotive CMO, he'll say, car dekho pe dal do here. Okay. So 10 to 15,000 crore of that money actually has moved to these new brands which were never existed at that period. So if I were to ask you that next 25 years, what is the question you're going to ask? I think that's the most important thing that I would actually start by saying, okay, influencer marketing, theek hai, but are you making the 10-15,000 crores? My first question is, are you looking at a scale of 10-15,000 crores? Just to give you a perspective, when we started Sequity, I think because it's public, data, okay? I think last year, Sequity did 100 crores. 100 crores revenue. Okay, just to give you in context, okay, Capillary did 800 crores, international. Okay, Fractal did international 2,000 crores. Okay, so for me, these are three benchmark companies that we used to talk, right? So therefore, if you ask me, in the recent past, has any agency in 14-15 years built 100 crores of revenue? I'm not talking sales, revenue. Right? That is what we are talking about. So, I think sometimes our ambition is a problem. Okay, our ambition is, mere ko retainer chahiye. I want to spend my time and let me ask a retainer. Okay, I'm saying I don't think if you're going to work for the next 25 years, ask what percentage of those 10-15,000 crore can I get? And is there a new platform? Is there a new way of handling AI? Is there a new way of doing things? For example, there's an agency called Mega, which has got launched. They raised 11 million in Silicon Valley last, I think, 3-4 months back. I'm a part of a Silicon Valley advisory board, and they just run on 100 agents. Okay, and clients are willing to pay fees for it, right? So I don't even know. So tomorrow's AI agency, okay, will be very different, right? So therefore, the question is, there was no model when internet came in, and there was nothing called social media. But we were very happy getting retainer fees. For me, retainer fees is like pension. Okay? And you want best talent. If you want best talent, you go to actually, really willing to pay money to get that talent. And if you are a youngster, you have an ambition in life, right? You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. Okay? So if you go back, I'm going to go back. So if you're Google, your gross margin of, so if I earn 100 rupees, I get 60 to 70% and I make 33% margin. Okay. If I'm Meta, I make 70 to 80%. So if you put 100 rupees in Meta, okay, 70 to 80% goes to Meta. Then infrastructure costs, people costs, overhead costs, okay, they make about 35 to 40, which means that if I put 100 rupees, 50 rupees is the profit that they make. Okay. Now go back to the agencies. First of all, our gross margin itself is 45-50%. Okay, we make 13 to 18%. Where will you invest in talent? Where will you invest in new technology? So therefore, there's a bit of risk taking that's required, right? So therefore, the gross margin of these companies is so huge. They can put a AI data center. They can put whatever that they want. So the question is, what model is going to give you that gross margin? That's the question you have to ask. Does Chorus give you that influencer platform gross margin? So what is your licensing model and the network effect that can give gross margin? And many times in advertising, we are very, very nice people, esoteric, font acha hoga, okay, nice, feeling, soft music, okay, we are artists, okay. Finally, we have to eat also, right? And you have to live somewhere, right? So therefore, it's important that you make a business out of it. I hope I'm answering your question. I'm just picking up the relevant slides so that I just don't go through slides, right? Any questions on this? How many of you knew that 100 rupees in Meta, 50 rupees, almost, 50 rupees goes to Meta's profit?
Finance. I just want to ask you one thing. So you've spent nearly 3 decades in advertising. At this juncture, what do you think is the healthy mix when it comes to marketing? So how much should a CMO consider doing offline marketing and how much percentage should he or she consider doing with influencers, creators and all?
See, I think there is no, I'll be wrong. I don't know too much. Okay. But I can tell you that it depends on the briefs, right? So therefore, what is it that I want? For example, recently, when I think Tata Motors launched their campaign for Sierra, they actually launched it with influencers. Okay, they basically got influencers across the country into Bombay. They showcased the car and they never did TV advertising. They never did, any other form of advertising. In fact, even digital was not done. They just picked up, put all the money, making all the 100 to 200 influencers travel to Mumbai. They actually showcased the car, okay, which was not shown to public at all. And as they were actually showcasing the car, all the videos went viral. Okay. So the question really is, in fact, the OMD as an agency was actually saying, when do we put money on Google? When do we put money on Meta? When do we put money on this? Okay. But the money was spent on getting the 100 guys and they just went and did the complete, they amplified it free. Okay. So the question that I would ask for an influencer agency is, so therefore, what are you getting paid? Okay. I want that 70, 80%, 50% mere ko chahiye. Okay. Ideas mat do. Okay. So therefore, do you have a platform? Are all your creators in that platform? Okay. Are you making money like UPI? Okay. Like Visa, like MasterCard, where to actually do this virality and whatever that you're doing, you get a certain percentage of the credit card spend, right? So you have to start thinking very differently. If you want to make money, the traditional way of actually saying, ye idea ke liye client pay nahi kar raha hai. Okay. Mostly what I realize is that clients have money. Okay. The question is, how do you monetize it? That's what I think is so to answer your question, depends on the strategy.
Thanks.
Just building on the conversation that we are having here, do you believe, this is a misnomer probably, but if agencies wait to up the game, then probably I'm assuming more likely you're hinting at platform thinking, enabled, product-led advertising models evolving, right? And that's where probably there are much healthier, larger margins. But there is also this misnomer that India as a market is not great at building and selling those same products in the space. I mean, that's been the conversation. So if you could.
So, I'll show you another case. So, I am also part of the startup network. So, I met this company. So, this is the company called Creedom, which is actually teaching creators how to do creative in a creator economy, and they're raising money and they're teaching, and the creators are paying money to them. Okay. So the question is, why can't an agency be a Creedom, right? The fact is that we'll only think a brand ke liye campaign chahiye. Okay. I'm saying there are going to be 1 million creators. If I create a university and teach them how to do creative, which is what your strength is, right? Maybe you will get subscription revenue from creators because somebody else is getting it here. So was this a business model maybe 1 year back? I don't know, right? But here is a company which is actually built it and is exactly in your, sweet spot. Is actually teaching them how to do creative and how to, because mostly they are building the creative and they are actually throwing the creative. Many a times, we keep saying that a brand guidelines पे नहीं है, okay, ये font पे नहीं है, ये है, वो है. CMO सिंह मेरे को million views मिला ना, कि 10 million हो गया ना, okay, क्या problem है, okay. So I think what is important is maybe the business model is about actually teaching the million creators, and do you build a creator market, and that creator market then starts becoming your platform market. Okay, so I think you have to be creative in the way even you are thinking about your agency business model.
How we say model has to change or can change. My question to you is, where is the bandwidth for them to change? I mean, you think creative, all that I understand, but what do they need to do to change that? Because they don't have monies and it's just coming from somewhere else. On their own, the capital is not there for them to take time out to do this. So what is the solution? What is the solution? Because agencies today are very paranoid.
See, there was no money even 30 years back.
I know.
Okay, so therefore that problem will not go away 30 years later also.
So,
if you don't change.
Yeah, but now because AI, there is an investment cost and things like that.
No, what is the investment cost? I think you have to find a new model of making revenue. What is the model of making revenue? That's the question I'm asking, and I don't have answers. I'll just give you an example. So, I'm going to pick up one interesting example. Yeah. So, if your client comes and says, I want a campaign for health insurance, okay, what will you do? You will say, मैं TV पे करेंगे, ये करेंगे, whatever. I'm just saying that you will say, ये retainer पे चाहिए, okay. And you know that retainer doesn't even cover for the time cost that you will be spending, because the client will be calling you 100 times, right? So therefore, where is the money? You will keep saying that, right? Now, if you were to actually go back and say, okay, the fact that, what is it require for people to remain healthy, right? I don't want to sell health insurance, right? Suppose you ask that question. Now, let me tell you what this brand did. But the agency did not make money, okay? So therefore, it is important for you to understand this, right? So this is Aditya Birla Capital, which actually they built an app where it is all connected to your Apple Fitness apps and all that. You have to make 10,000 steps every day. They keep a track of it, whatever was the app. So they called it Health Returns, which is like branding and all that. Okay. The most interesting thing is, if you do your activity, the next year premium is actually lower. Okay. So which means that if I pay 25,000 rupees on my premium, if this data goes back to Aditya Birla, next year my premium is lower. If I were the agency, I would actually say, what share of that saving will you give me? Okay. And last year, Aditya Birla was like a, 10,000 crore company. I want a percentage of that 100 crores that they saved. Okay.
But then agencies don't say that.
That's a problem.
Swami, I'll just answer Geeta's question slightly differently. So one of the biggest advertising client in Bangalore, the CMO called me one day and told me that they have 65 agencies as part of their consortium of agencies that do work for them. And she wanted me to do a project with them to understand what these 65 agencies do. So the reality is, people are spending money. The money is not gone away. It's just that whatever 10,000 crores divided by 65, you're getting a small sliver of that amount.
See, so for example, when we did Sequity, actually, the money didn't come from the marketing budget. It came from IT budget. Okay? I don't care. I'm not going to ask that question. I want that money. Right? So, which means that that's the way it is. Okay? So when I exited, that one client was giving me close to 30 crores of revenue and zero money from marketing budget. Okay? So, unless until you have an octopus strategy, okay, which is, kahan se aa raha hai, mere ko nahi so I am an entrepreneur, so I'll figure it out. Okay, I'll put creative, I'll put whatever, I'll put analytics. So, I think the most important thing is there, and then you become, if you actually plumb the pipeline of the company, then to actually remove you also, today will you go away from Google? Okay, it's not possible, right? Because it's all plumbed, right? All the plumbing is done already, right? So I think the important thing is the business model is in question, according to me, right? If you actually find the business model, I think that's really where I said, so when Nishad asked me this, to take the session, I didn't want to give a gyan. Okay, saying, oh, ye karo, this is a great campaign. I'm saying that, boss, now look at this money, right? I want you to look at this and then tell me, okay, look at this spend, right? So Accenture Song does 19 billion in revenue. Okay, so you can build $1 billion firm, and it was actually, David Droga was actually what they acquired, and they actually connected that with their consulting, with ops, with outsourcing, and they built this kind of a model. So the fact is that they can even think of a $1 billion agency. That's the first ambition that I want, right? And then the rest of the guys, for example, I know, he talks consulting, but look at the amount of money BCG marketing is doing, 2 to 3 billion. So which means that they're spending money, they're not giving it to the agency, right? So therefore, what do you do to build that leadership? That's the question that I would ask you. These are all end of 2025.
Swami, I want to interrupt you here.
Sorry?
ECG and all these.
Sorry?
There is a problem here, what I see. I've also worked in advertising, the BCGs of the world. I think it's an image problem. If a BCG guy says that this campaign is going to work, and Shad says this campaign is going to work, they'll probably go with BCG because he's from BCG.
So when did...
So there's an image problem which they have not been able to pay.
See, let me tell you here. For me, every time we did analytics, we had McKinsey come and say our analytics models were wrong. I still had to survive McKinsey. Okay?
One rare exception. I don't see a...
So therefore, they'll come and say, ये model wrong है, हमारे पास global center है, Okay, we will come and do something. Fine, you will. So therefore, how do you get a seat in the boardroom? That's the question that I think we get. We don't even get seat. The CMO does not get the seat in the boardroom, right? So therefore, it is important that you become the thought leader. So let me tell you, when we did Sequity, one of the most important things that, when I was in WPP, every time we'll have this offsite, right? Saying that we want to become like McKinsey. Okay, we will make this money. We also have this thought leadership. All this. I also want to be McKinsey. Yeah. Who doesn't want to be McKinsey, right? Okay. So the first thing we said was, okay, if you want to be McKinsey, do you have the intensity to build thought leadership papers the way you want? Okay. The partner in McKinsey in COVID, okay, had to generate close to 50 white papers sitting at home. Okay. There is no work. Okay. But they had to write, research, put it together. So actually, if you look at it, agencies, typically the problem is we get bored with process. Okay. Or process means, arey yaar, ye kya hai? Okay. Creativity means I should not have process. Okay. But I'm saying that no. Okay. So in Sequity, what I did was, I actually said 100 hours of CPD is important for every leader. Okay. Just continuous professional development. And if you are somebody above some account director or VP or whatever, you have to write a white paper. I had IIT, IIM guys who had never written a white paper in their life. Okay, they came to me and said, Swami, how do I write a white paper here? Okay. I said, I don't care. Okay, go to my website. I want that white paper written by you. Because you got to be a thought leader. Okay, that's when clients will start respecting you. Why do people call me today? Okay, when I'm from the same industry. Okay. Not that I'm great. But the fact is that it is hard-earned reputation. Okay. So if you go to my Contramind code, okay, you can subscribe to my newsletter. Okay. It is the 218th edition. 218. Okay. Every week, Wednesday, 6 a.m. Okay. Which means that 5 years I've actually done the newsletter every week. I don't care who reads it. Okay. Because we will do analysis. We will say, कौन देख रहा है? Okay. इसमें insight क्या है? Okay. इसमें बोलो, what is this, इसमें layout ठीक नहीं है. So next week we will postpone. Okay. So, I don't care. For me, actually it was saying that, no, I want it. Now I'll keep improving as I go along. Okay. That is very important. Okay. So that is my view. 218 editions. Okay. Every Friday, 4 p.m., Contramind code, LinkedIn has to go at 4 p.m. Okay. Tomorrow I'm in a board meeting. I've already scheduled it tonight. Okay. So I think agency and creative and process, we just have to do it. And that's what McKinsey does. That's why they have the respect. Okay. We just don't have the ability to actually have the muscle to do it.
I just want to add something. There is a live proof is my firm in what he's saying. 13 years old firm. Last year onwards, we've started doing well. Because we've actually started doing thought leadership consistently. And we found we've actually lost to a few brands, but we've won against McKinsey for personas, data-led personas, by finding a vulnerability in them of doing a cookie-cutter approach. We said, you're not bespoking. So even the biggest of elephants have huge flaws. If you cut the elephant's tendon, it will fall on its own weight. No, sorry. I have a question to ask, sir.
You ask away. Yeah.
So I have a question, Swamiji. See, hi, Robert. I to think of you as Malgudi Days because of your name. So, how does a consultancy scale? I have good margin, sir, about 30% margin. And we are getting problems across the value chain. I also resonate completely saying, एक company में पैसा कहाँ बह रहा है? It's a lot more in sales, distribution and production than in marketing. So we've gone to sales heads and said, I can do consumer inciting kinds on your distributor inciting. When D2C is coming and your distributors are. So we've been behind D2C of Mercedes, ROT of Mercedes-Benz. We've done personas which My problem is now coming to scale, sir. How is AI going to help me scale? Because I've taken Wolzal across the business value system, not marketing. That's only 20%.
See, I think this AI scale is overhyped. Yes. Okay. Internet pay, Jeff Bezos came in and said, I'm going to change e-commerce. I think there are several companies that have come and there are new ways of notification advertising and sponsorship and in-app advertising. So many new things have come up. So my point is that I think you got to adapt. If you keep saying that AI is going to take away your business, no, but the scaling, okay, is also about how you build talent. Okay. How do you demand that thought leadership and talent? Because we, for example, when we did that white paper, I was relentless behind people. They thought that I am a maniac. And many people thought that, iske HR skills are very low. Okay. Ye kuch bhi bolta hai. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't do it, it doesn't happen. So I think one is that. The other one is, I think very early in CQT, I think Sridhar is there, we set up something called a customer centricity world. Okay. Actually, we are only a 10 crore company. Not even maybe 10, 15 crore company. But we used to do full page ad in Economic Times. Okay. So the clients were thinking that, boss, ye bada aadmi hai yaar. Okay. Okay. So, so we used to call the CEOs. We used to call everything. And all the consulting companies used to call us and say, boss, ab kya kar rahe hai? Okay. So it's about image building. So we have to build our own image, right? And the customer centricity world, actually, if you ask me, the client bought us for perception, okay, but they gave money in ops. Okay, ops. Okay. So they will come and say, CQT अच्छा company है यार, okay, वो consulting करते हैं, Economic Times में front page पे है, उसका partner IBM है, वो analytics, इस पे है. They talk about recommendation engines. They talk about all these big things. Okay. Next best action, NBA, Amazon is doing it. Okay. We can also do. Okay. So the real challenge, I told one CEO. So one day he came out of the board meeting and then he called me and he said, Swami, I want to meet you. He was a good friend of mine. Okay. So he said, Swami, mera board mere ko maar raha hai because, they are saying you don't have enough of big data and, all these kinds of things. So I told him, fine, here, I'm also willing to do it. They're saying, look at Alibaba, they, in 7 minutes, they give loans. Okay, there's that. I'm also willing to give 7 minutes for a loan. Is your company willing to do it? Okay. So the question that I asked him was, and since he was a good friend, I asked that question. I said that the mediocrity of your service partner is directly proportional to the mediocrity of your employees. Okay, मेरे पास भी है Amazon, Redshift, okay, all these kinds of things are there. I can also give you. But if you are working in SQL, I can't go and say use MongoDB, Okay, because then that guy will tell me that, boss, ye log kya kar rahe hai? So I think it is all about how you do it, how you position, how you build a brand for yourself, and how many agencies have built a brand. We keep talking about building brands for others. So for me, the customer centricity world was actually brand building. And believe me, I should actually say that I was afraid to do it. My co-founder, Ajay Kelkar, was far more ambitious. And I think the good thing what happens when we have a very ambitious two co-founders, I think the solutions hit somewhere in between. Okay, we will not close down, but somewhere ye hoga. Okay, so I think that is really what I would say. And I think, how do you build your brand? Okay, and that I think is critical. And I think you should learn from Times of India. Okay, वो award देगा. Okay, वो best restaurant देगा. Okay, then they will come up with some new feature. Okay, वो feature पे sponsorship करेगा. SME के कैसा पैसा करने का है, एक separate one supplement आएगा. And that fellow who never is, Metallics India Limited, his photograph will be there. Okay. So I think we have to be also smart,
Hello.
See, this McKinsey marketing and sales, I think it is coming on every time. See, the head of McKinsey in Bangalore is MIT. He's from MIT. Which agency head in India is from MIT? See, with them, I have a very counter point of view on this. I used to hire IIT for data science. Okay. I think there is a point that you're making. So, but in my view, okay, the challenge that you can ask Sridhar. Sridhar came from the US. We have done all of that. But let me tell you that I didn't find that we had to teach the same thing to the IIT student also. Okay, kaisa storytelling karne ka hai, which I learned in the agency business. Okay, ये slide कैसे करने का है, scissors कैसे होना चाहिए, ये मैं, how do I do it? So therefore, to me, I learned storytelling in the agency business. Okay, but I think the talent, I would say, if you want to hire, then I think it is also about how you position, how you build your margin, and how you build your revenue. I think these are 2-3 things. It is all mixed. It's not that if the MIT guy comes, he will give me business. ऐसा नहीं होगा. Okay. For example, last week I came out of a meeting of Bain on segmentation. Okay. And when I asked, can I see the presentation? The client told me, Swami, you don't see it. They didn't do a good job. Yeah. Okay. So that guy was like a great, Stanford guy and all that. So it's okay. I'm not going to get worried by all this nonsense. Okay. So I think there's some amount of self confidence that you need to have. And the client also thinks that, he doesn't want to show me that presentation. But your point is valid. But the fact is that, see, you can't change everything. I think the ambition is important. How do you build the business model is important. And how are you going to really then attract talent and demand from the talent? Right? I think demanding from our talent, we're very low, sir. Okay? Suddenly we'll say, oh, baag jayega. Isliye he can come anytime to office, or she can come anytime to office. I said, discipline, it can't work. And if you ask McKinsey, it will be real, I know people who work Monday to Friday, Saturday only they'll go home. That's how McKinsey is. And I don't know if you know the model, they actually have less number of workstations versus the number of employees. Because they are not supposed to come to office. They are supposed to sit in a client's office. I think there is ambition, I think there is purpose, and there is actually the ability to take the business model and risk. I think I'm not saying this is the answer, but I think I want to make it into a thought-provoking session. That's all. That's really the idea.
Right, that's the advice. When Accenture started, it's just a comment, that's all. When Accenture started their creative services, they took about 400 creative people to the can, right? Just to showcase technology and the possibilities of how communication is going to evolve. Now, that is a scale at a very different level, right?
100%. So I think the important point is, if you go to L'Oreal, the agency on record is actually Accenture. Okay. It's not Group M, it's not OMD, it's not... I was shocked to know that in L'Oreal, AOR is actually handled by Accenture. Okay. So which means that the world has changed. We keep saying that, Ogilvy tha, J. Walter Thompson tha, bullshit. I think all the models have changed. We have to find a way of finding new models. And the new models require new thinking and new ways of doing things. I think that's the refresh that we need.
Will it help for the agencies to get more arrogant? Because McKinsey cannot tell a story. I used to handle a small part of Dell, and Bain came in, and they were willing to pay Bain 20 times more than we quoted for a CIO study. And I met 30 CIOs. I was way back in 8 years back. But they came with us, one of those niche arrogance. And they cannot tell a story. It is not surprising that they didn't allow you to see the presentation.
No, I agree. I think arrogance with your reputation, with your brand, with your depth of work. And many times what I found with McKinsey also is that I think they will talk profits, gross margins, okay, which we never talk. We talk, I was in a CEO meeting, the CMO was presenting, he said, top of my recall increased, engagement rates increased. The CEO said, boss, mera market share kam ho raha hai. He himself had no respect. Then why will he respect me? Right? Because he is doing metric which is completely different. The CEO is actually, rated on, market capitalization, gross margins, EBITDA, profit, and that's really what he's evaluated on. Right? So if we don't talk that language, okay, I think that's going to be changed. And many of us can't talk that language.
No, that language, they will win the business.
Yeah, correct. That's very important. So therefore, I think I've overextended my time. So I want to just end with the last slide. I didn't use any of these slides, so it's good. I was happy I didn't use any of this. I basically wanted to leave my last thought on this. I think the value is never inside an individual agency. I think value is in the connections between them. I think platform thinking unlocks value. And I think that's what agencies should do I think thanks to Nishad, he made me work very hard. I never thought I have to do a presentation or whatever. So it gave me time to think. Okay. And basically my rusted brain, he made me to really work and do all of this. But clearly, I think, therefore, are we ready to rewire our thinking skills? I think that's really what I want to leave with. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope it was useful.
Sheila?
Thank you, Swami. Thank you very much for that interesting session. On behalf of the Ad Club, everybody here would like to thank you for spending your time. Inspiration Room has been very, very interesting for everyone across topics. And I think this was a very different session. I'm sure people are going away inspired. Thank you very much, Swami.